Welcome to In the News with Double O Des. I'm Des Bernardo, giving you my perspective on news from South Africa and the rest of the world. Good evening, everyone. Here is my take on Cyril Ramaphosa's speech. And the first impression that I got is that he's getting sick of his own speeches and that he actually just wants to go home. I don't think he wants to be president anymore, and I can't blame him. You know, having to please the New World Order, having to please the people in your party, having to please the people of South Africa, having to please your family if you even see them, must be quite a split. A lot of people that you get split between. And I'm sure at this stage, he looks like he just wants to go to bed and sleep. But he carried himself well through this speech. The last time he got a hiding, especially in the media, because he actually came out against the people and treated them as if they were naughty brats, and that didn't go down very well. So in the speech of Ramaphosa, the first thing I noticed that when he took his mask off, he took this deep breath, like he was struggling to breathe with this flippant thing on his face, just like all of us. So go and watch that part again, and you will see he actually understands that this is a twak, this isn't nice to keep this thing on just for the sake of keeping it on because it's the cool thing to do. There's nothing cool about having to wear a mask at all. You have to wear it for protection when you believe that it'll make the difference, or to protect other people near you. If that is your belief, then that is what you should do. But when you're in the mountains, when you're walking by the beach, when you're walking on your own, having to wear a mask is psychotic. It's not right. It's crazy. I see people driving in their cars with their masks on. People who lost the plot. They're nuts. Can we just get over it now, please? And just use some common sense. So he takes off his mask and it's like relief immediately. Okay, this thing is off my face. He looks very tired and bewildered. Okay? And then he says he's going to address two specific things, and that is schools and resources. So while he's addressing schools and resources, throughout, I can see that although he's reading this off a screen, and although he is, you can see just going through the process of delivering the speech, like I said, it doesn't look like he wants to be president anymore. It's just a duty that he's going through. He says that he addressed the nation 11 days ago. Now, in many other countries, the country's leaders address the nation continuously. In other words, they're on top of things. They appear to be on top of things. They appear to be in the war room, busy with things, and they give feedback continuously, often daily. This is not the case with our president, as we all know. He makes his appearance every now and again, comes out with a certain attitude that's probably scripted for him beforehand, and then they see what the fallout is the very next day in the media, and then they adjust accordingly. He has an entire team of people advising him on his demeanor, on his speed that he should speak, the color of the tie that he should wear. He was wearing a pink tie today, and there was a very specific reason for that. He said that South Africa is now fifth in the world with regards to COVID-19 cases. Now, he should have said SARS-CoV-2 cases, because those are just based on tests that have been done. And you can't test for a disease, you can only test for a virus. And he says that this huge storm has now finally arrived, and not even he's getting excited over it. He's so sick of it by now. And he said there will be many difficult weeks ahead. And he wasn't very animated when he said that either. So the animation is gone completely. This guy is battered and bruised. He said that there will have to be very strict prevention measures to prevent the rise or reoccurrence of the disease as happened in other countries. And he specifically spoke about the Western Cape, and he said that it looks like the Western Cape has gone over its peak now, And he mentioned quite a few positive things, according to him, that has happened with regards to our death rate being the lowest in the world, the lowest fatality rate in the world. And I mean, for any country, that is supposed to be a good thing. So he says that there were 6,000 plus COVID-19 deaths at this stage. And like I said, at this stage, most of these people, they can't prove this. These are all people that have passed on, that have tested SARS-CoV-2 positive. That's what it actually is. Just remember that. And then he said that practical steps needs to be taken and correct clinical guidelines needs to be followed to prevent this storm. The storm that they speak of, whatever the storm means. You can't even say storm with passion. It's like just a storm. The storm has arrived. The storm is upon us. Yeah, no conviction at all. I'm not sure he actually believes what he's reading off the teleprompter anymore. He said that most economic activity has returned. Now we know that based on the initial level 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1 scripts, that we are already at level 1. I mean, we've gone way past the other levels. We're not out of full lockdown yet, but we're actually at level 1. We're not at level 3. And then he starts waffling on about schools. I actually wrote you a big waffle about schools because he was saying absolutely nothing. And we're basically getting to the first point that he was supposed to address here. And it's interesting to note that the 2 points were schools and resources. What he should have said is schools and money being plundered, because that's what he ended up speaking about later. So we're gonna look at now what he said about schools and then money being plundered, not resources we have because it's being stolen, and he had to set up all sorts of preventative measures to actually try and get the money back. Good luck with that one, but I'll get to that just now. So there were lots of calls for schools to close. We saw this all over the media. I've never dealt with this because this to me was not directly related to the New World Order. Okay? To me, if you homeschool your kids, whether you want to send your kids to school, I'm indifferent about that. I'm not going to get involved in that argument. I mean, that happens from person to person, that you have to make a decision for yourself, what you choose to do. But he said that Minister Angie Motshekga actually met with 60 different organizations and they had a argy-bargy. In other words, a fist fight, and none of them could decide what they actually wanted to do and they couldn't come to an agreement. It sounds typical South African parliamentary situation. Although it wasn't parliamentarians, it was organizations, and every leader of every organization has to stand on his own heap of dung and shout louder than the next one. That's how people operate in this country. So he said they had extremely divergent views, and he said it was very difficult for them to reach a consensus. But here's the kicker. The one thing he says they all had consensus on is that we have to put health and academics first, and it must remain the foremost concern. Now, how on earth in the middle of a pandemic, if this pandemic and this virus is so dangerous, how on earth can you put health and academics together in one sentence and say that both are your foremost concern? You need to choose that it's either academics or health. You can't have both. You know, that's common sense. But whoever wrote his speech, obviously, he just didn't have enough upstairs to actually figure that one out. So, I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing. He made clear that the World Health Organization was giving them advice. Okay? And then he mentioned all sorts of other organizations. But the fact that he mentioned the WHO means that the World Health Organization is giving them guidance on kids returning to school. And then he said that Cabinet had decided that all schools will close for 4 weeks, except for, and this is from the 27th of July to the 24th of August, except for grade 12s, which will only close for 1 week. So they'll have a 1 week break, and grade 7, which will close for a 2 week break. So that's the old standard 10 and standard 5. and that the academic year will actually go beyond the end of the year. I know they've had rumors that it might carry on till March next year. I don't know how they're going to work this out, but I know there's been rumors around this, and he's made that clear that the academic year will go beyond. They didn't specify till when. I'm sure they'll still figure that out as they go along. And then he made it clear that we are seeing the greatest increase in infections now. So this storm that he speaks of, and because of the storm, it's best to close the schools. Now, why on earth did he send the kids back to school in the first place if he says that this was going to come? What is the point of doing that? He was very sorry and apologized to all the parents that now would have to look after their kids. Because schools have become babysitting institutions, that the government now has to apologize for the fact that the schools can't look after their kids. Not school their kids, look after their kids. It's not a school's job to babysit your child. It's not a teacher's job to parent your child at all, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. But we know that Angie Motshekga has said that government, that they are responsible for your kids, not you. So we know there's sick mentality, and this is why they want to take control of our kids' minds and actually tell our kids how to live their lives. Take all our parental rights away. This is his plan. He thanks all the teachers for all their efforts. Now I know many teachers that have been trying to give school under these ridiculous circumstances, where the criteria they have to follow is impractical for any school or any child. It's insane, in fact. There's no ways this can work. And many of these teachers have just said that none of these things are practical. And he said, President Cyril Ramaphosa said, that once Angie Motshekga heard the real challenges on the ground, which means she's completely out of touch with what's going on, she realized that this is not working. Okay? So the first period of sending the kids back, it was a mistake. And now he wants to say that, oh, you know, this happens in other countries too. He was making excuses, trying to actually cover his bacon. Or the person writing his speech was trying to do that in any case. Then he spoke of 4.4 million people receiving the special grant. And that 2.2 billion rand has been spent on the special grant. That will be paid over 6 months, and it's 350 rand per person. Now, I've had people contact me that said that they've had trouble getting this grant, that the grant was declined initially, and later only the grants were approved. They acknowledged that there were mistakes in the system, and now that they've fixed it, everyone will get that amount of money for a full 6-month period. So you won't miss out on the initial months. So that's important to note for those people that were actually interested in understanding what will happen with that. Then with regards to UIF, he said that there's 7.5 million South Africans that received UIF payouts to the value of 34 billion rand, obviously paid to companies. But we'll get to the mess that happened just now. How many companies never paid their employees, actually kept the money? He spoke of 8,600 businesses that received of the relief fund. 12 billion rand has been paid out to them. And he said that because they adjusted the rules, now I don't know exactly what that means, I'll still check and see, more businesses should be able to benefit from this fund. And then he said that much needed support with this 500 billion rand coronavirus package, that it's reaching its recipients. So he makes a statement, listen to this. He says that all these funds, he's saying how it's reaching the recipients, the people that should get it. And then he starts to speak about how people are stealing, thieving, left, right, and center. He starts speaking about stolen, misused funds, deferred funds, overpricing, collusion, fake non-profit organizations, etc. That is thieving this relief fund money. Just after he said that it's reaching the recipients that so badly need this money. So whoever wrote this speech, he needs a snot clap, because this guy doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, this is really shocking. and I'm glad I have to bring this to you for those of you that didn't sit and torture yourself through this 30 minutes. Then he almost, this was hilarious, he needed to say state of disaster, and he almost said state of emergency. He had to correct himself. So this is what's on his mind, on their minds too. And he's clever now. He's not saying coronavirus command council anymore. He is saying now that cabinet approves things, because he knows he's being nailed in the courts for the unconstitutionality of what they're saying. So he's thinking in his mind, this is a state of emergency, and they're treating it as such, when in fact it's a state of disaster. As you know, he was not allowed a state of emergency through the Concord. He was told to take a hike, and he had no option but to go with a state of disaster. It didn't give him all the powers that he wanted. And we know Chief Justice Mogoeng, thank you very much, that he decided to keep the courts open and told the public to take government to court, to keep them to account. Then he says they're investigating 800 companies for excessive pricing. 800. Okay, I'm sure there's lots more if they're only investigating 800. Then he says that there's a collaboration with an investigative team that's actually going to try and get back every cent. This is what he says. They are going to get back every cent. So every bit that was overpriced, they're going to get back from these companies. Dude, I'm seeing poor Cheyennes driving around everywhere at the moment. I saw quite a few of them today. So these people have spent their money. I don't know how you're going to get it back. Good luck to you. So he's setting up these investigative teams. Okay, he says the overpricing, those companies that overpriced, that the money must be refunded to us, the people, and that he had signed a proclamation getting the Special Investigative Unit, the SIU, to investigate these criminal offences that should then be prosecuted by the MPA. Now we know the history of the MPA. Does the MPA get anything done? When last have you seen the MPA get anything done? But this is his process. This is his signed proclamation. It's going to be extremely interesting to actually see what ends up happening with all this plundering. And he actually went through this long explanation of the extensive plundering that took place. And he says every cent we will get back. And he said he will get reports from this investigative team every 6 weeks. 6 weeks! If you have a desperate and serious situation, you will get reports daily or weekly at the latest. 6 weeks is not serious to him. If I was state president, there's no ways that I would get a report every 6 weeks. You are completely and utterly disinterested and taking us for a fool by saying that you're interested in getting this money back if you want a report every 6 weeks. Please don't take us for fools. He says all funds will be recovered. He's mad. He's lost his mind. Or this person writing the speech. I don't know if he actually approves his speeches beforehand. Does he read through it and say, this is rubbish, we can't do this? I'm not sure that he's doing this. Then he waffles on about the largest relief package in the history of the country. And he said that we made some mistakes towards the end of his speech. I don't know if you missed that, if you've fallen asleep by then. But he admitted that we made some mistakes. Just one sentence. And then he became very reconciliatory. So last time he spoke, he got absolutely hammered because people said you were treating us as if we were kids. Gareth Cliff and many other people actually went out on the ropes and attacked him. Many people on the YouTube channels did exactly that. And we know how Gareth Cliff was attacked afterwards. So these people are fed up with the nonsense that he spoke, and he was very careful this time to not go down the same road. So he wants to build bridges, that's for sure. So he said we made some mistakes, one sentence. Then he was reconciliatory. Then he said we need to be strong, disciplined, focused, and safe. This is what he told us. And that we can overcome this COVID pandemic all kumbaya, running around in a circle, round a campfire, naked kind of stuff. This is basically how he ended his speech, and that's it. Done. Cyril's speech done. From 00 Des. Thank you very much for listening to this. This is my take. Plain and simple. From 00 Des, Cyril has had it. I don't think he wants a position anymore. I wouldn't want it if I was him either. So whoever thinks that they want to become president of this country, good luck to you. You are either brave, stupid, an imbecile, or a lunatic. In a new system, different story. In the current system, crazy, absolute lunatic. Nobody should enter that office in this corrupt, ridiculous system that we have currently. What we need is to elect our leaders directly. We can elect someone that's got a proper team around them. If you have proper people elected into parliament, you can actually have proper debates. People can have proper discussions. You can work with premiers that actually know what they're doing. You can work with mayors that actually know what they're doing. You know, he actually has to work with a bunch of people that's as bad as him. You know, that's his own punishment. Can't be nice. Till the next video.